Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What would you say if I told you there's a book that can teach you how to win The Bachelor?
What would you say if I told you producers caught multiple finalists reading that book in this season that's currently airing?
What would you say if I told you the producers don't want anyone to know that their show has been compromised?
How do we know all this? We wrote that book.
I'm Lizzie Pace.
And I'm Chad Kulchin.
We're the authors of How to Win the Bachelor and the hosts of the Game of Roses podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we break down all the biggest plays, errors, and MVPs in the game of reality television.
Listen to Game of Roses wherever you get your podcasts and go to howtowinthebachelor.com to get our book.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Cathy.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Oh, wow, you've really thrown me. Thank you.
Continue.
Just crossing a road here. So, yes, the Cinemile, I guess. This is the podcast where we walk home from the movies. It's also my birthday. And we have chosen to spend my birthday going to see Bill and Ted Face the Music for some reason. Because this is the best the cinema has to offer right now.
On my birthday, we went to Judy because I was dying to see it.
We went to Judy and Terminator Salvation back to
back. That was a good day, right? This is just we really want to go to the cinema, and it's either Terminator or we've seen Roxanne Tenet, or then this is other. No, not Terminator, Bill and Ted, sorry, I can't even remember what we're going. It's either Bill and Ted or other movies we've seen, or I've forgotten the name of it, but this tween romance movie that everyone's obsessed about.
Oh, never even
So
heard
Bill
of
and
that.
Ted it is.
Maybe I should have gone to that.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Thanks so much.
It's the birthday you've dreamed
I
of.
have no enthusiasm for this movie, despite actually quite liking those movies.
But we're excited to go to the cinema.
Yeah. As always,
Our
it's
second
nice.
time going to the cinema this side of COVID.
Yeah. So it's good to be back, and who cares what we're going to see, really?
This is like the good old days of the cinema before we had kids and we would just go and see any old shite. This is slightly different though in that we've actually paid for someone to mind our kids while we go and see any old shite.
That was actually our original tagline. A married couple walk home from any old shite.
The thing is,
This does look like any old shite, though.
Do you know what?
The trailer.
I've not even seen the trailer. I've not even seen the poster.
You haven't seen the poster. I watched the trailer. I haven't. I didn't laugh once, and not only that, it was kind of the kind of movie where you're like, oh, the trailer. You're like, this looks like it's going to be a complete slog. Why? This just looks like a passion project for the sake. No, I'm sure everyone involved is passionate, but it's just like.
Well, Dave, maybe you should wait and watch it.
I guess.
Just the purpose of
but
this
I'm not.
podcast.
I'm not excited for this. Really. I'm like. I just feel like it's going to be. Just more nostalgia mining.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun, which is my one and only real memory of the original movies.
They are fun.
I'm interested to I find it interesting that from these movies, for whatever reason, Keanu Reeves became the star, and I think he's really good. But I remember him being really bad in these movies. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see an old Keanu Reeves doing this and seeing if it actually works, or does it just come across as very odd now?
Well, I was reading about the production development of this, because they've been trying to get this off the ground. Alex Winter, who plays Bill, and Keanu Reeves, with the original writers for at least 15 years. They've been trying to but nobody wanted to make it.
Really?
No.
And so are they still really good friends then, presumably?
Oh yeah. They're well up. The core team. There's two writers on it whose names I don't have to hand. And these two lads they love these characters, and they've been obsessed with this idea of what they'd be doing as middle-aged men for 15 to 20 years. They've been and they kept bringing it. They had a script for years. They brought it to studios. Nobody wanted it.
Wow.
They could not get it financed until Keanu Reeves stars in John Wick in 2014 and has a career resurgence. And suddenly he's this hugely bankable star, because in the noughties, Keanu Reeves was not a big name, but not necessarily a hugely bankable star. John Wick is a moneymaker, and he draws it in now.
What about the Lake House?
What about the Lake House?
What about the Lake House?
You think the Lake House was a huge runaway success in terms of finances?
Well, it was in my life.
The studio people just want to know they don't care about quality. They just
don't
want
care that Keanu
bankable.
Reeves and Sandra Bullock can communicate through a postbox through time. Anyway,
They don't care. They only care about time travel when it comes to
Bill and Ted.
telephone boxes and crazy futures.
Well, do you know
So,
what?
yeah.
I mean, having not even seen a trailer or a poster, so like going in completely blind, I'm optimistic. I also know it's like under 90 minutes, which is like pretty good. Excited to be going back to the cinema, and that's it really.
All right.
And
well,
Dave, look, this is it. Did you
we're nearly
always
here.
dream that on your 36th birthday, this is what you'd be doing with your life? Living through a pandemic, going to see Bill and Ted's, what's it called?
long gestating movie 20 years after the last one. No, I did not anticipate any of this.
This is the life you signed up for.
Here's a good question. We'll have to Google this when we have a minute. Are we living in the time or past the time that Bill and Ted travel to in the future?
I don't know.
Or is that long in the... Actually, that's hundreds of years away.
One other
Anyway,
thing we were wondering, I know we're at cinema now, but we were wondering to ourselves, who is the audience of this movie? I think it must exactly be people between the age of 35 to 45.
there's no new audience for this movie.
Yeah, that's
this
what I mean,
movie
like,
is
who-
only aimed at people who saw the first movies and will show up because, hey, it's Bill and Ted 3.
And the first movies were of like relatively limited interest, I would have imagined, to people of a certain age group. So
Do you know what this thing is in the same like league as like the Veronica Mars crowdfunded movie, right? That's what it feels like. It feels
let
like
it be known that we actually donated money to.
we did, and was hugely
We were
disappointed.
hugely disappointed.
But I think that's a good example of like this feels like a crowdfunded movie made for the fans, by
Yeah.
the fans. It's a passion project.
Except
so
it's funded by the profits of John Wick 1 to 3.
I think if anything, it's just bizarre that it's got this huge release now. It's a cinematic release only in the UK, VOD and limited release in the US. I think this would have been a better VOD
Dave,
thing, really.
save it till you've seen it. Like.
All right,
It
fine.
could
Let's
be
go see it then. We're
massively-
here. Why are we still
It
talking?
could be wonderfully cinematic and hugely high budget.
Cathy, I've seen the trailer. I cannot stress that you need to lower your expectations enough, all right?
All right, okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
25 years ago, you played a concert in front of the entire world. 1 month ago, you played in Barstow, California for 40 people, most of whom were there for $2 taco night. Bill and Ted, what have you got to say for yourselves?
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.
You were supposed to unite the world and save reality as we know it.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to write the song that will unite the world. Why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
Whoa! Take it from ourselves.
But isn't that stealing?
How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
Okay, we are out. We're walking home. We saw Bill and Ted Face the Music. If it's your first time listening to this podcast, no spoilers until we turn onto the spoiler street section of this podcast.
And something
And our
hugely
lives.
thrilling happened to us in the cinema, where we thought for a good 15 minutes that we were going to be the only people in the film.
Yeah, it
And
was empty.
So it was empty. We cavorted. We took photos.
Excuse me, that word could be so
Yeah, we were not
easily
that kind of way.
misinterpreted.
Not that kind of way. We were like basically so excited, taking selfies, walking around.
I just felt like real.
We ordered pizza to our seats. We firstly #support local. We were like, how much money can we spend in the cinema? We got 2 pizzas, a beer, a packet of Revels, and a box of popcorn. Like, that is dedication
Yeah,
to supporting our local.
and we bought out the whole cinema to ourselves. We bought every seat.
And then, right as the trailers were finishing, 2 other groups came in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bit disappointing.
Now,
But
they
hey,
were so
not a,
far away from us, though. It was incredibly socially distanced.
not a good sign for this movie
No.
making its money back.
Not a good sign for the movie.
Unless it's making it back in the VOD thing.
Not a good sign for the movie, and also just made me a bit sad that, like, on a Saturday night, that like our local cinema would be that quiet. So I'm hoping the other
Yeah.
screens are busier, like with Tenet and stuff like that.
I
but
do worry
no,
for cinema.
I know, it made me a bit sad, even though we were ecstatic when we thought we had it to ourselves.
But anyway, what do you think of Bill and Ted Face the Music?
Well, do you know what, Dave? It's your birthday. So you tell me what you thought of Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Okay, I thought it was actually okay. I had a fun time. It's totally like, it's not bad, but it's also not good. If that makes sense. It's totally fine. It's like, I found it like a lovely passable way to spend 90 minutes, but I would have I cannot recommend this as like, get to your local cinema and support it for Bill and Ted Face the Music. Like, if you can, if you're in the US and you've the option to pay whatever it is, you probably have to pay $20 or something over there, wouldn't you? Well, whatever the format you should watch this in is at home in your own living room at your leisure. This isn't one to turn out to the cinema for. It's not a cinematic movie.
Babysitter and probably pay for the cinema.
Jesus, we spent the money we gave this. We spent today.
Unless you're us and you just love going to the cinema transcends the movie, because we had so much fun. But yeah, I agree. Like, it's totally grand. To be honest, as we were watching it, I felt really happy because I was like, this is a very, like, as opposed to our previous cinema experience, which I also loved, Tenet, which was a highly complex. This was the opposite of complex.
Yeah, it was.
This was just like
I felt like I felt like I was getting stupider watching this movie.
Yeah, and while they were interestingly also time travel in this, so it's funny to compare the two. This was very simple time travel, some of which didn't actually add up. So I want to discuss that on Spoiler Street.
Oh, interesting.
I found some issues with the time travel.
You've got some issues with the plot continuity of Bill and Ted 3.
But kind of overall, I felt just a bit of sense of joy of like. I was enjoying watching them together. Interestingly, I found Alex Winter to be the better actor of the two.
He is.
Though I can't say I've seen him in anything else other than Bill and Ted. Nothing that springs to mind.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves. So what's weird about...
But also, the same held true, I think, in the first two.
Which I just don't quite remember them.
He's the sort of more convincing of the two.
So the basic plot, because I've since seen the poster because we were in cinema, is... I didn't know this, but Bill and Ted... are now middle-aged and have daughters who are like kind of the age they were in the original movies.
God, let's talk about them in a
and
minute.
that's what we need to talk about. So basically, which one's which again? Is Bill Alex Winter?
Yes.
So Bill's daughter is called like Bilhamina or something.
That's not her name.
And
but
she's got
essentially
Billy. She's called Billy. And she's got blonde hair. And then Ted's daughter, I don't know what she's called, but Teddy or something, and she's got brown hair. And
they just are the same characters.
Just, two actresses doing impersonations of Bill and Ted.
And
that did not work.
And that sounds as good as that sounds, because it isn't. It's absolutely... Anytime they're kind of on screen, it's really embarrassing. It's excruciatingly embarrassing.
But the Ted one, the one who played... The one who was aping Keanu Reeves, who, as we said already, isn't doing a very good job.
She was worse.
Like, and I'm not blaming the actress because it's the direction and it's what she was told to do, and it's very hard to try and copy Keanu Reeves doing a really bad job. So if you can imagine, it's like 3 degrees off what's already bad.
Yeah.
When I actually, at one point I had to look away when she was on screen because I was like so embarrassed for this actress that she's doing that. Whereas the other one,
for fun,
Samara Weaving, the Aussie actress who was playing Bill's daughter, it just wasn't as embarrassing watching her.
But that's because she's playing it a little bit more subtly.
Yeah.
She's not hamming it up as much.
She's not trying to exactly have every single mannerism that Alex Winter has.
Yeah,
whereas the other girl was like beat by beat trying to actually just mimic Keanu Reeves.
The problem is Ted's not only trying to mimic him, but just like trying to outdo him almost.
And she had even the same hair as him, and she's like flicking it back. I was like, what am I watching?
She's also, I mean, the problem with her performance was that it's too much, and also she's not staying still at any time. So like when she's not talking, and say one of the other actors is talking, she's like... She's moving around like she's got all these tics. Like she's moving. I wish I could show you what I'm doing. But she's like, whoa, and all her hands. It's basically she's saying whoa with her body non-stop throughout this whole movie. And can you imagine somebody like a mime, like a bad mime,
doing an impersonation of Ted from Bill and Ted, as played by Keanu Reeves?
It's just so distracting. Yeah, and I get I get that sort of now we're in the realm of this movie is like intentionally silly. And
enjoyably
farcical. So like I'm kind of okay with fine, like I'll buy into the premise that your daughters are just exactly the same as you, and don't have their own personalities.
The girls literally walk around going, party on, excellent.
It's like, oh yeah, that kind of bothered me. Like, why would these two girls who've grown up in the modern era,
they're actually young women, like they're in their 20s.
So they're Gen Z, like probably, or maybe lower end millennials. Like, why would they be saying like, bogus? Why would they be using Californian idiosyncrasies from the 90s? And like,
they don't seem to live on the beach or anything. They live in the burbs.
No, so
that's like
fine.
that's like us trying to like.
It'd be like
it doesn't make any sense.
It'd be like if we were just we completely copied the mannerisms of our parents down to the iota detail. You'd have no personality of your own. But also the other thing is they haven't inherited any of the personalities of the mothers, because the mothers haven't had personalities for 3 movies now.
I did not remember them marrying. Apparently from the original
those
movies.
English princesses are in it since Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Now it can't be the same actresses.
Oh no, not at all. But
their English accents are like, if you imagine an American who's drunk trying to do an Australian accent, that gets you somewhere down the line of where these English accents are from these women.
And one of the mothers was your one off Glee, right?
One of them was from Glee, and the other one, I nailed it, was from. I just sat there for the whole movie trying to figure it out, and I'm almost positive she's from the first season of CSI.
Oh, well done. Yeah, I think you're right.
Not Horatio, like the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well spotted. Anyway,
but at the same time, I have to say, this review's a bit of a mess because actually the road's really loud. Overall, I did a couple of times just like think I'm really enjoying how silly this is. And it's really uncomplicated, and I really enjoy the stuff that they did in the other older movies where they get characters from throughout time together for a purpose, which we'll speak to on Spoiler Street. I got some genuine laughs at Mozart. It was funny.
There are laughs in this movie.
It's just not, as predicted by you, not cinematic. But, not everything we see on the big screen has to look expansive and wonderful. Yeah, but it almost looked like the special effects were so bad that I couldn't tell if it was because they just had no budget or because they were just taking the piss.
I think the special effects were better in the first 2. At least they look more of their time. Like but you're right. To the movie's credit, the things that are good about it are it's clearly made with a lot of love and passion, and I like that. And it's also very consistent. Like, this feels like a step on from the first 2 movies. Very much so. It's in the same exact tone and spirit.
Yeah, it feels like it's by the original people, and they really do love music, and that comes across in this movie. The love of music the characters have, and that the filmmakers have. And
we'll talk to it in Spoiler Street, but I thought the end of this movie was genuinely really good. I thought the payoff, the way they tie it all together,
I thought it was good
was
too.
Very, very good.
And there was some fun stuff, of them meeting different versions of themselves from different timelines that I actually laughed at. So I did find enjoyable, and it was really nice to see them back on screen together. Have I missed them on screen together? No.
I will say,
Am I happy to see them? Yes.
In another way, it there's not a lot original. There's not a lot of originality on display here. Like you said, we'll talk about it more in Spoiler Street. But like the collecting figures of history, that's the first movie, and then basically they repeat a lot of what happens in the second movie as well, so it ends up being this almost like this, to use a music sort of phrase, like it's a greatest hits compilation mixed with a cover album. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, which is it's all I would have expected. And we totally forgot to mention the actual star of the show was Death.
Oh, that's always the case. He's the best thing in the second one, and also incidentally, for my money, the second movie is way better than the first one. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey I'll always go back to over Excellent Adventure.
I believe you, because I just don't remember.
That's the one with Death in it.
It's just the Death stuff was really funny.
And that's William Sadler, and he's absolutely excellent.
But and they said like Death had an album called, was it Too Pale to Cry? There's funny gags in it. But I did think it was only 90 minutes, and I actually felt like it was too long.
It was stretching, yeah. It was a bit of a
there's
reach.
some scenes which again are similar from other movies where they go down to hell and stuff like that, and you're
it's
like,
almost,
they were killer, they were dull.
It's almost like one of those reunion sketches that you'd get on Jimmy
SNL.
Kimmel or an SNL,
Yeah.
like when Saved by the Bell reunite for a sketch. It felt like that.
No,
but
it had more legs to it than that.
Yeah, I guess.
It did have more legs to it, just about. And then finally, one other actor I meant to mention was the woman who plays like
Kristen
the super
Schaal?
fan in
Yeah,
Flight of the
Kristen
Conchords. Yeah,
She's the daughter of Rufus, who was played by George Carlin, famously in the first two. Very famous
I enjoyed that
stand-up
she was in
comedian who
it.
died.
So I enjoyed that she was in it, but she was effectively wasted.
I think she's doing some good work here.
She's good, but like she was kind of wasted.
There's
if
one
they'd given less time to Ted's daughter and more time to this woman.
There's one standout character in here who I'm going to say for Spoiler Street, because I don't think he appeared in any of the trailers. So with that in mind, shall we go to Spoiler Street?
I think so.
But before we go to Spoiler Street, I do like to do a quick shout out for some of our new patrons over at our Patreon page.
Hello.
So, hello guys, and thank you to Stephen Larkin, to Kai Williams, to John O'Callaghan, to Lee Beckett, Tom H, Martin Grooms, Rick Crossley, David Beniahia, Cullen McCluskey, Michelle Leonard, Molly Foley and Claire Middleditch Case. Thank you to all of you for subscribing at the rate of $2 or $3 a month to our special bonus podcast over at patreon.com/The Cinemile, where you get 50 plus movie and TV reviews, old movie and TV reviews you get to choose and vote on. We've just done the Lives of Others as part of our spy movie special, and more of that to come every month. So if you're interested in that, head over, and that's how you can support us.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dave.
And if you don't want to do that, you can just support us by leaving a review or saying hello
Or subscribing.
on at the Cinemile.
Or telling us what you think of Bill and Ted's Adventure. But now, oh no, what's it called? Bill and Ted Face the Music. But now we are back to talk spoilers about Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Okay, so the character I was referring to is the robot, Dennis Caleb McCoy.
Oh my god, I'd already forgotten about him, but he was so funny. That was just so random.
It's so random.
Yeah.
But it was one of the few surprises
Yeah,
in this movie. Because,
genuine laughter.
as I said earlier, like the movie just did feel like this quite familiar, because it's just really wheeling out greatest hits. So like you said, the girls are going off on the journey to... They're just doing the first movie again, basically. They're collecting a lot of historical figures, except there's a music twist, right? And then basically Bill and Ted revisit a lot of the original. They go to hell, you know, they meet death. They're seeing themselves again, which is a common thing.
That was very
throughout.
fun, them seeing their future selves.
Yeah, they lean heavily into that. But
Yeah.
actually, yeah, it's fun. But for me, the thing that's Dennis Caleb McCoy
Yeah.
just comes out of nowhere. And I meant to look up this actor who was playing him, but he was just like having so much fun and surprising the way he was taking it. This sort of nervous, awkward energy that a robot had.
Yeah,
It was
and
just
I
like-
loved the way he kept trying to like have a group session, like, "Hi, I'm Caleb McCoy," and everyone's just like, "Whatever."
Just the way that actor was delivering the robot, remembering his own name, and nobody cared.
And
was
also,
really
I loved,
made me laugh.
I loved how, I know we talked about like it probably at a low budget, but I loved how lo-fi the robot was.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it looked deliberate,
It was
almost
so fun.
deliberately
It was
crap.
like a Halloween costume we'd give like our toddler. Or
But
something.
actually, everything in the future kind of had that. It's like it's over the top, nonsensical,
Yeah.
bargain basement like sci-fi stuff.
Can I pick apart what doesn't make sense in the time?
Oh yes, please, yeah. Do.
So basically, the call to action at the beginning of the movie is that they're like visited by Rufus's daughter, and she says, in 70 minutes, you need to sing the song that will reunite the whole world, right? That you've not written yet. So firstly, why wouldn't they have come to them months ago and said, on this date, you need to do it, right? Because you need to have written it by this date. So they never did that, which doesn't really make any sense, but that's fine. But then, we know that it has happened, right? So then why, when Bill and Ted go and visit their future selves, because they don't want to write the song, they want to steal it from their future selves, why then won't their future selves from a year now be like, tell them that you don't need to write a song, you just need to get everyone together and play at the same time?
Because I think those future selves didn't do it, because there's multiple future possibilities and multiple pasts.
Is that what it is?
So the ones that because
when they meet the future selves at the very end, those future selves are like, oh, you did do it, the ones who are really old, and they give them the USB.
I don't understand.
Yeah, so it didn't add up. Like, it didn't add up that because the implication was they'd already done it. But then when they met and I really enjoyed them meeting the future selves who were like total bums, who were like in prison, and they were all like totally like ripped and like dangerous, and like they were pretending that they were successful, and they were
I like that
saving
their
individuals.
future selves were kind of the bad guys.
Yeah, that was fun, but it just didn't make sense because I guess it's not but it should be continuous time theory, because Rufus tells them that they're going to do it and that they have done it at this time. But then their future selves haven't experienced it.
Yeah, could somebody just explain this to us, please?
But it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't actually add up.
No,
It's
I
not
don't.
continuous.
I can't understand it.
Yeah, and you know what? We're sticklers for time travel continuity in this podcast, so that I found it kept bugging me. I was like, you have to do it one way or the other.
You can change. There's multiple different. That's why they had to press the infinity button and create infinite versions of themselves to go through every timeline.
I guess, yeah.
And hand out instruments to. I mean, come on! We just can't pick apart this movie because it's just stupid.
And I really enjoyed. I really liked the message that ultimately they didn't actually need to write a song. They just needed to get everyone in the world to play together.
Yeah, and I liked that it was their daughters that did it, and it wasn't them. They weren't at the centre of it. I thought that was nice.
But then it doesn't make sense. They told you to write a song that will reunite the world, but they didn't write anything. So the prophecy was false.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But was it a prophecy? I don't know. Does any of this make sense?
No.
Do we need to have this conversation? I would argue no. But yet here we are.
And even watching the daughters like on stage with the headphones in, like fake air guitaring or whatever they were doing, I was just cringing watching them. Like I actually couldn't cope with watching what they were doing. It was
that's
so
the problem.
embarrassing.
A little bit the problem with Bill and Ted, because it's a franchise like out of time. Because this is very much, these movies came out in 1989 and 1991, like pretty much back to back, and they were real, like that was zeitgeisty. Like these characters felt like they were of that time and place. But now, like, as middle-aged men, they're kind of doing the exact same thing, but their daughters are doing the same thing. So they don't feel like, they feel like these bizarre, like, shut-in relics of people. They don't feel like people. They feel like just caricatures. So I'm kind of like, and the whole sort of tone of the movie and the jokes, the broad comedy of it all, I said earlier, it's consistent, and is in the movie's favour. This feels like Bill and Ted 3, but it also, like, Bill and Ted doesn't really kind of work in today's era. That's the thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It would have worked.
It feels like a relic.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what's the other one, Wayne's World, and that's what I accidentally sang earlier. Party Time Excellent. That's from Wayne's World. Was Wayne's World before? Was the early 90s? Was it? So it would have been after.
Yeah, it was
Bill
around
and
the
Ted.
same time, and they're very sort of similar kind of characters, aren't they?
They are, and again, it's like, it's so funny because it's like, okay, what might have been cool back then, like, probably isn't very cool now, and like, but we did enjoy it, and it, like, I would say it's very uncynical and like very sweet.
Yeah.
It just, I'm happy they made it, and frankly, I'm happy there's a film in the cinema, like, for people to go to that isn't on VOD, to kind of encourage people when they feel safe to do so, and in a, you know, properly socially distanced cinema, to go and enjoy a movie. It's just like, God, is this all we have now? Like, is this what 2020 has done to us?
This isn't the one.
We spent your birthday watching Bill and Ted Face the Music.
I gotta say though, like, it was worth it just to see Bill Sadler play Death again.
Yeah, I loved, that was the absolute best thing about this movie.
And it made me want to watch Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey again.
Do you know what? I would watch them again. And like, there were some scenes that, like, I did kind of laugh at, like when there's the wives say they want to go to couples therapies, but like Bill and Ted think that means like all four of them have to go to therapy, and they're like,
yeah, it's kind of funny,
you.
But they labour that joke.
Exactly, and like, to your point is like, that would have been a good sketch. That does not a whole scene in a movie make.
I did like that they brought the dad back. They brought a lot of the old actors back as well. And I liked that they continued the joke, which has been going for three movies now, across 25 years, of Missy, their former babysitter, marrying each of their dads and then marrying the younger brother.
See, I didn't get
She's
that.
gone
That was
through
funny.
the whole.
That was very funny. To be fair, like, Ted was like, Missy has made my brother his own father and my father his own son.
Yeah.
It was like very enjoyable.
That was funny.
Yeah, no, but it's just, I think we can't talk about it anymore. I genuinely think the time travel doesn't make sense. I'd like to hear what our listeners have to say about it.
I think also, I want to hear that too. But
And we're
also,
not
sorry, this is yet another movie where they've they could have given the princesses some agency, and they almost did, because they went off with their future selves, but it was almost like that happened in a different movie.
Yeah, why did they all get back together then?
That had no resolution. They were like, oh, so you went off to every other timeline to see if you could be happy with us? Yeah, we did.
And it's
okay.
But your future selves had said that wouldn't happen. So
but
why
what was
are they
the
back
point
with
in
you
any
now?
of that? That didn't actually amount to anything.
It didn't amount to
like
anything.
It feels like this movie's not. It's like a collection of like ideas that they've tried to rein in and kind of make
sense.
It's so funny
that they were trying to ship this script for 15 years, because I see that now. I see why.
I know this is 15 years of honing got us this product.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to think that we're like slagging off the actresses who played the daughters. It's just what they were given to do was abysmal.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, the only thing to this movie's credit is that they didn't make them their sons. It's like vaguely more interesting, and I mean very vaguely, that it was their daughters. But then at the same time, it's like almost even sadder to think of like a young woman whose only like goal in life is to emulate her father is like profoundly depressing.
It's just like, but like it also implies like, and I know it is fitting with this silliness of this movie that they would just be them.
They're just in the garage like DJing their dad's music and like listening. I did enjoy the scene. I really thought it was the best scene with the two girls was the scene they did with Death, when they were like talking about his back catalogue and what an amazing bass player he was and like buttering him up, but they like really meant it, because they have that kind of naivety about them as well. Like they were quite endearing, the two girls. But yeah, anyway, guys,
and don't
all rush out at once.
I liked the final message that music, everyone needs to play together, and music brings people together.
Yeah,
I think that's quite a nice sentiment, and I liked the one of the other only interesting or different things about this movie was the end credits, which were just a home footage of people dancing, which felt like a real sidestep, and I enjoyed
that too. Right, Dave, happy birthday. It's one that you'll remember forever.
I'll never forget. It's also a movie I'm never going to watch again.
100% never going to watch again.
No, but I'll watch Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey again.
Yeah, okay. Thanks everyone for listening.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, and let us know what you thought. At The Cinemile, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, thecinemile@gmail.com.
Probably more likely our listeners in America have actually seen this one. I'm not sure that our UK and Irish listeners will have been all running out to the cinema, but prove us wrong.
Yeah. Okay, bye everyone.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Jessie Cruikshank, and I've always been told I have a face for podcasting. So I launched a podcast. It's called Phone a Friend, because each week I'll break down the biggest stories in pop culture. But when I have questions, I get to phone a friend. I'll phone a royal watcher to find out why Prince Harry is acting like a real housewife. I'll phone a tween to please explain Euphoria. And maybe I'll even phone a Backstreet Boy to find out if I still have a chance. I don't? Okay. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.